Could the race for Ohio's governor be over before it even really begins?
It's a Scott Sands Show.
Hey there, how are y'all doing? Thank you so much for finding the Scott Sands Show, the podcast. It's episode 2538. Although it might be a short one today, I don't have any guests. I did want to hit on a couple of topics, though, a couple of big stories, including Vivek Ramaswamy, who is in Toledo this afternoon with his gubernatorial announcement tour. It's weird doing the podcast on video from my home studio, I should say, too. If you're watching on YouTube, I haven't quite figured out the lighting and the camera placement and the microphone placement. It's all very awkward. And at some point during the podcast, my producer, Tiger the cat, may hear me from the other room where he's sleeping on the couch and jump up here on the desk as well. And that could get weird, too. So I'll get those apologies out of the way now. You can find the show on Facebook, The Scott Sands Show, on X, Scott Sands Media, as well as YouTube, and I'll soon be on all of the other platforms. Of course, the audio available on iHeartRadio as well. Please be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you prefer, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks to longtime partners of The Scott Sands Show as well for this podcast sponsorship, including Jamie and Mike at 4GuysAndARoof.com, The Extreme Roofer, Tim and Mia with RixaHealth.com, formerly Revive Health, down 100 pounds. I want to get a little bit more down before the summer. RixaHealth.com. Josh at Farnsworth Cocktail Bar in Waterville. You've got to check it out. Amazing cocktails, delicious food. Their burger, their cheeseburger with bacon and egg, just absolutely amazing. Jeff, who owns Whiskey Red Saloon downstairs here in the Commodore Perry Apartments. New partner, Toledo Tech Loft. I hope to do my podcast from their studios very soon. ToledoTechLoft.com. And Dr. Mickey Frame Chiropractic, and Tucker Carlson with Alp Pouches. If you haven't tried these yet, if you use nicotine patches, and nicotine is an addictive chemical, must be 21 and over to purchase, check out Alp. You can find the link on my socials to buy Alp Pouches with a 10% discount. Again, Vivek Ramaswamy, the big story today, especially with his visit to Toledo this afternoon, maybe while you're listening to this podcast. But I wanted to lead with this story that's fascinating and could really shake up the sports world. The Monty Show is a podcaster with some good connections in the sports world, is breaking a story that the Big Ten and SEC are in talks to form a new super conference that would combine to some degree the Big Ten and the SEC, along with a few select schools from the ACC, like maybe Clemson, Florida State, perhaps some schools from the Big 12, perhaps from the Mountain West or some other conferences, to form a super conference. But what's really fascinating about this story is that in order to make it happen without having to pay all sorts of penalties to their current conferences, they would actually withdraw from the NCAA to form a super conference. And what this does to the rest of the teams could forever reshape the way playoffs are held, how rankings are done, conference schedules. It's a story to certainly keep an eye on. So let me just dive right into the big political headline of the day. Vivek Ramaswamy yesterday formally announced that he's running for governor of Ohio. It's one of the worst kept political secrets, obviously. But last night, after the official announcement, and he's in Toledo at the Glass City Center today with a similar stump speech, he scored not one, but two massive endorsements last night after the announcement that he made. One from President Donald Trump and the other one from Elon Musk. And this is really a game changer in Ohio politics. It means a lot for the Republican primary, where Attorney General Dave Yost and possibly newly minted Lieutenant Governor Jim Tressel are in the mix. And, of course, the general election against, so far, the only Democrat running, Dr. Amy Acton. So Trump's endorsement, first of all, I mean, this is a freight train. When Donald Trump throws his weight behind a candidate, it's not just like a pat on the back. It could be a political bulldozer. So Vivek now has the MAGA base really locked and loaded, and that's a huge chunk of the Republican primary electorate in Ohio. Dave Yost has a lot of great experience. He was on our podcast a week or two ago, but Trump's seal of approval could really drown out any of his resume points. And Elon Musk adds a new dimension as well. He's not just a billionaire. He's now a cultural icon for the anti-establishment wing of the party and the entrepreneurial spirit. And this endorsement could signal to voters that Vivek's the guy for innovation and shaking up the status quo, something that Dave Yost, a career politician, might struggle to counter. If Jim Tressel jumps in, I don't know if his football fame could outshine Musk's star power and the popularity that Vivek has. So what this really means is that the battle just got steeper for Dave Yost, who's been a solid AG. He's been tough on crime, pro-Second Amendment, but now he's really staring down a double-barreled endorsement that could sap a lot of his momentum. And he'll have to lean hard into his record and hope some Trump loyalists still value statehouse chops over Vivek's outsider energy. What's interesting about this, and I talked about this when he was named, is Jim Tressel, who I believe Governor Mike DeWine named as lieutenant governor, with the hopes that Tressel would run for governor and could possibly beat Vivek. I really don't believe Mike DeWine wants his legacy tarnished by Vivek Ramaswamy. So in the race, if Jim Tressel was to enter, Tressel's got the name recognition. Like 95% in Ohio, they say. I think that's an accurate number. I don't know if it's enough to have the name recognition and be a winning Buckeye coach to beat the momentum that Vivek now has. Trump's endorsement has a track record of turning primaries into coronations, and now with Elon Musk's clout, Vivek could steamroll the field before Yost or even Tressel get their campaigns in gear. The base, I admit, loves a fighter, but right now Vivek's got the big guns behind him. What does this mean in the general? And I don't think Dr. Amy Acton will be the only Democrat to run for governor. She's got name recognition, of course, from her days as Ohio's health director during the pandemic, but that's really a double-edged sword. Some people see her as a hero, but others, especially Republicans, blame her for lockdowns and mandates. So I don't know that she would stand a chance against Tressel or certainly Vivek. And Ohio has been trending more and more red with every election cycle. Trump won by 11 points in November, and with his endorsements, Vivek is positioned to ride that wave. I think Dr. Acton's got to swim upstream against a state that's souring on Democrats, and she would need a miracle to flip that swip. So you look at the economic vision versus a bureaucratic past and risk of Dr. Amy Acton being considered as out of touch. But I think, and I don't say that it's a done deal, but let's not kid ourselves here. Trump's endorsement is the golden ticket in today's GOP. And when he says Vivek is, quote, something special and quote, young, strong, and smart, I think that's a signal to every MAGA voter in Ohio that he's our guy. He's our guy. He's the best. He's the greatest. And now with Elon Musk's nod, that's going to be a tough machine to beat. Polls already show Vivek crushing Yost, 46% to 18% in one, 57% to 26% in another. And that was even before the endorsements dropped. So it could now be a landslide unless Yost or Tressel pulls off something biblical. What do you think? Is Vivek Ramaswamy about to turn Ohio into the next MAGA stronghold, or could Dave Yost, Jim Tressel, Dr. Amy Acton, some other Democrat fight back? Leave your comments in the comment section on Facebook. I think this race is just heating up, just getting started, and will certainly be interesting to watch. I will be at the Vivek Ramaswamy announcement rally at the Glass City Center this afternoon, and we'll report. Follow me on social medias for updates from the Glass City Center this afternoon. I assume that I'll be able to get this podcast posted before the rally begins. Also tonight, and I'll sit in on this as well if I have time, if I'm back from the event in time, Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur is holding a 7 p.m. town hall this evening by phone There are votes in the House of Representatives this week, so that the House is in session. She will not be in the district. I question why she didn't come last week and hold an in-person town hall while the House was recessed. Many members around the country went to their districts and held town hall meetings. Marcy Kaptur choosing to do hers by phone tonight at 7 p.m. You can dial in. I'll share that number on social media as well. Earlier this week, or maybe it was over the weekend, I posted a story from WTOL about Noir Hybrid Lounge and Bar, which opened on July 4th last year. And I hope to God I'm pronouncing the name correctly. It's Noir, owned by a couple of brothers, the Letts, and they started it all up with sweat equity, solid sold real estate assets and liquidated personal assets. It's the classic hustle. But along the way, and this is what caught my attention about the story, I love to see new businesses opening, especially in the downtown area. The city of Toledo threw up all sorts of roadblocks, permits, architectural plans, inspections, red tape, which delayed them opening Noir by about half a year, which had to hit their wallet hard. Now, despite all that, they seem to be doing well. I have not been to Noir, and I don't personally know the Letts yet. I would love to meet them and visit Noir and support them. They're using tech to stay sharp. They're aiming to put Toledo on the map between Ohio's big cities. Dr. Brandon Cohen, a business prof, and one of the founders of Home Slice Pizza, which I love. I haven't had a good pizza in a while since I've been trying to lose weight. He says, and this is probably a conservative estimate, new bars need 9 months of cash just to get traction, making delays like these even more brutal. In my opinion, and this is why I shared this story, Toledo has to make it easier for small businesses. 6 months to get permits and approvals is government bureaucracy strangling the little guy. Toledo needs a fast-track process for small businesses. We got to figure out a way to streamline permits into a better one-stop shop so people like the Lett twins aren't bleeding cash waiting on City Hall. Less paper pushing, more job creation, maybe waive fees for startups. These brothers gutted a building and poured everything into Noir. So why nickel and dime them with permit fees? Maybe offer a fee holiday for new businesses in the first year. I think that's a small price to save entrepreneurs $60,000 in lost revenue and get more dollars flowing into downtown, which the city would be able to recoup through property taxes, through sales taxes. What about pre-approved plans for common builds? Bars, lounges, cafes, they're not rocket ships. Toledo could create a library of pre-approved architectural plans for standard small business startups. Hand one to the Letts of the world, tweak it as needed, and boom, inspections scheduled, hammer swinging, no 6-month limbo. And instead of making guys like the Letts figure out the city's maze, Toledo should launch a free Start Here workshop, walk entrepreneurs through permits, zoning, and inspections in a day, and pair that with a dedicated city liaison to keep things moving forward. Help small business owners and startups succeed, and don't make them guess along the way. The Lett brothers bet on themselves, selling their own properties and pouring their own labor into Noir. Toledo should reward that grit with a temporary property tax break for owner-operated startups. Incentivize risk takers, and you'll watch downtown and other parts of the city thrive. And because of their tech dependence, Toledo should also lean in on tech. Move permitting online, real-time tracking, digital signatures, no more snail mail or lost form. Speed kills the competition and slows the dream. I think Toledo really needs to modernize and streamline the process. We're lucky to have the Lett brothers in Toledo. I don't know them. I haven't been to Noir, but I think this story is a wake-up call. If the city keeps bogging down small businesses with delays and costs, we're choking the very people who create jobs and buzz. Noir so far has been a success despite Toledo, not because of it. We need to flip that script, slash the red tape, roll out incentives, and make Toledo the place where entrepreneurs say, this is where I build my dream. You think Toledo should step up or keep stepping on the little guy? I'd love to see your comments as well on Facebook and on X at Scott Sands Media. This week, a couple of things going on I wanted to make sure you're aware of. Again, a short version of the podcast, no guests today. It's Restaurant Week Toledo through March 2nd. Restaurant Week Toledo is a great chance to enjoy some delicious meals at very special prices, some special dishes too. Dozens of Toledo's best locally owned restaurants. And along the way, you're supporting Leadership Toledo's tuition-free youth programs. It's really easy. You go out to eat at one of the participating restaurants during Restaurant Week Toledo, and a portion of all the proceeds are donated to Leadership Toledo's high-impact programs, which cultivate and empower aspiring young leaders that maybe will solve the future problems for startup entrepreneurs like the Lett brothers with Noor. Restaurant Week goes through March 2nd. You can get all of the restaurants at restaurantweektoledo.com. They've got a great website where you can filter by what meal you want to enjoy, whether it's breakfast, takeout, lunch, dinner, what location you're in, downtown, Sylvania, White House, Perrysburg, Waterville. Downtown Toledo has, man, I'm looking at the list, like 16 different restaurants, from the Adams Street Cafe to the Dirty Bird, Souk, Registry. Some of these are restaurants where you may never have gone before, but there are special prices you can check out and try out some new places and support Leadership Toledo as well. Restaurant Week Toledo ends on March 2nd, Sunday, which is the same day as Acoustics for Autism, which benefits Project I Am. This, as we've talked about for like 18 years now, is the country's largest free all-day music festival, and it's available for all ages. 100 bands performing on, I think, 9 stages this year. And again, it's all free. These are 100 local bands who donate their time to come and perform to help benefit Project I Am, which is an amazing organization. It's Sunday, starts at noon. It literally goes until like 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's all over downtown Maumee. Just go to Conant Street. If you don't want to fight the traffic, and there is a lot of traffic, there are shuttles that run from various spots around the city, especially if you're going to be enjoying some adult beverages at Acoustics for Autism. Take the shuttle bus, take an Uber, and visit that. It's one of my favorite events of the year. It's for the kids. acousticsforautism.com. I'll see you Sunday. I'll be there for sure as Arctic Clam does their special performance. I haven't figured out who their tribute artist is this year, but all of the best bands in the Toledo area: Noisy Neighbors, Kyle White, Skittlebots, Distant Cousins, Amelia Earhart's, Blitzen with a reunion, Grape Smugglers, Beef Carvers, and of course Arctic Clam. I think they'll play around 4 o'clock on the main stage Sunday. acousticsforautism.com. Those are the stories I wanted to cover this afternoon. Again, please subscribe on whatever platform you prefer. You can find the audio on iHeartRadio still. I'm also available on YouTube, Facebook, and follow me on X at Scott Sands Media. Thanks again to all of our sponsors, and thank you for listening to The Scott Sands Show.